Hi Mark, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Kim. Thanks for asking.
Great. Why don't you start by introducing yourself and tell a little bit about your role with Key Collective?
Yeah, sure. My name is Mark Whitney, and I'm the serve as the board chair for the Key Collective. I've been with the organization for a number of years, and it's a great organization to be a part of in terms of making a difference in the community, and especially making a difference for the community's youth.
So, as board president, you're obviously very involved. How did you first get involved, and what about Key Collective's mission made you want to give so much of your time and energy?
It's a great question. I actually have been involved with this organization for longer than I've been directly a part of it because I was working with Exeter Hospital when we were running a youth suicide prevention grant program. And part of that effort was to try to look at what were some of the things what were the sort of drivers of youth suicide ideation, and how could we actually partner with organizations in the community to actually to intervene in that and to make a difference. And one of the major drivers of it is the idea of social isolation that kids can face, especially in an environment where there's lots of resources, lots of activities, but if they can't take advantage of those activities, they end up feeling left behind and isolated. And what we wanted to do with the Key Collective, and what the Key Collective was starting to work on, was trying to solve that problem, how to make sure that kids weren't left behind. And they were one of the original grant recipients from Exeter Hospital, and we were very excited to do that, to sort of give it its launch. And then obviously partnered with that organization for a long time before I joined the board, and then ultimately stepped into the role of being president.
So, can you speak to what made you jump from being involved professionally to spending, some of your more personal time and being more involved as a board member rather than more of a partner?
No, that's a great question. I think that, for me, I wanted to actually try to be involved and make a difference. I mean, that's really what the stuff comes down to, right? It's getting involved and seeing if you can, change the life of a kid in the community. And I'm one of those people. I've been connected to lots of different not-for-profit organizations, and in particular, I spent some time on the board of the United Way, both locally and regionally. And we spend a lot of time talking about trajectories, that if you change the trajectory of a kid's life, the implications and the rewards of that shift, small little shifts, can be enormous for them, for their family, even for the community. And so it's an organization that giving kids a chance to do and participate in activities that they love, that they can get passion for, that they can get experience from, that's been really important to me since the very beginning. And I think that, one of the things I always want to talk about is it's my kids had a huge benefit from being able to participate in sports and activities and after school programs. And I think that it shaped who they are as adults now in really dramatic ways. And when I think about what the Key Collective does, is it doesn't just do small things like give people an opportunity to play baseball or football or something else. It can actually create those opportunities for those kids to actually develop skill sets, competencies, confidence, a belief in themselves, and other things that my kids got to enjoy. And I think every kid ought to have the same chance to enjoy.
Yeah, I think that really sums up what we're doing. We're not just letting them play Little League for the year. We're helping them build these skills and we're giving them that access.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think that I would just add to that. It's funny. I think that we all, Kim, I think we all live in little bubbles, social bubbles, and so my experience was that my kids were able to do all the same things that our neighbors' kids were able to do, our friends' kids were able to do. It was great. I never had to make decisions or choices about them participating. I never had to worry about choosing between rent and those activities, or food, or electric bills, or anything else like that. And believe it or not, outside of my bubble and outside of all of our little bubbles, there are people that have very different experiences. And in the area around SAU 16, there are over 600 families that actually qualify for financial assistance for meals through the school system. Those families making decisions about what their kids participate in is a totally different experience than what my family and I went through. And so it isn't just creating that opportunity through the network that the Key Collective has put together, but also making sure that it's done in a way that doesn't have stigma associated with it. So those kids can participate with their friends regardless of where they are economically, and they can participate in those programs and get and reap the benefits from them, which I think is so important.
So important. It's
Mm.
the backbone of everything that we do.
Yeah.
So you've obviously given a lot of your time and money as a board member and donor. So what advice would you give to somebody who was considering getting involved either with their time or by making a donation? What would you say to them about our organization?
Yeah, thanks, Kim. I mean, I think it's so important that we all take a moment and recognize the fact that we are in these little social bubbles, right? And that the people and the experiences that people have right around us are very different than ours. And if we think about, if I think about all the parents that I know that their kids went through sports or after school activities, um, all of them would talk about how important it was for their kid. And to think for a moment that there might be a kid next to your kid, a friend of your kids, who can't make those same choices, can't make those participate in the same way. That's the thing is that I think that we all want to try to give and make sure that those people have access to it. It's the old saying, it takes a village to raise a child. And I think that it was absolutely a village that helped raise my child, from coaches to teachers to, program directors to camp leaders. Those kinds of things all helped shape who my kids were. And if I can give that same opportunity or participate in an organization that can make that same opportunity for other people, that's an incredibly positive thing. The story that I always tell about this is that I was sitting at a dinner table once with my kids, and I was complaining about in front of my kids and actually a couple of my kids' friends about how expensive participating in sports was. And we're sitting around this nice dinner table, eating nice food, making those decisions. And then after the dinner, I actually drove my oldest son's best friend home to one of the 11 different mobile home communities that are in this area, where his single mom was not only taking care of him, but his sister, and actually helping care for his grandfather who was living with them. And I pulled in the driveway and I'm like, this is crazy. I mean, I'm sitting there, I had been complaining about this reality, but I never had to make a choice. I never had to sort of balance something out. I never had to ask for help. I never had to live through any of those things. And this, was a deep, good friend of my son's who was living a completely different life outside that bubble. And I think about that a lot. I think that's really what we're trying to do is to make a difference. So there is no difference for those kids. They can do those things, and they can do them without associated stigma. And I really do believe that by doing that, we're not only changing lives, but in some cases, we're even helping to save lives and save families and save decisions. And I don't know what could be more important than that, right? That's the big deal.
Yeah, I think sometimes we maybe think of these things as extra or too expensive the way you're talking, but it really is foundational to growing up and to all of these kids to be able to do what their peers can do without that stigma piece that you talked about. So
Absolutely. It's so huge. And I mean, we partner. I think one of the fabulous things is that the Key Collective creates a network, right? We create a network that families who either qualify for Medicaid, who qualified for free or reduced lunch, or who get referred by local pediatricians or Seacoast Mental Health as an example, they can access that network. They don't have to go find those organizations. And the one thing I want to say is we partner with over 30 different organizations in the community, all of whom want to do great things and support kids in the community, but didn't necessarily know how to do it. And so it often is their generosity of creating space for those kids, but they had no idea how to get access to those kids or promote it or to do it in a way that was without stigma attached to it. And we've actually provided that. And that's one of the reasons why I think that a lot of the partners that we work with are so excited and grateful about the work we did. We created an instant network for them.
Yeah, that's a great point, is that we're in most cases not giving the funds. We're just helping our partners find the kids who need the funds that they're already willing to offer. And I think that's one thing that gets lost in our work, is that there's a lot of people who want to help. There's a lot of organizations that have these scholarships available who are willing to give them, and we just help kids find them in an easier way that doesn't put as much strain on the families.
Yeah, I think that's true. There's a tremendous amount of generosity, but they didn't necessarily know how to do it or what steps you could take. And it would also mean that, let's say, that parent has to go through the same process over and over again. Every time there's a different sports season or a different program, they'd have to reapply, ask for help. All of those things are things that attach stigma. And they're also all things that create barriers for those kids and those families to participate. The Key Collective through the RUN program eliminates all of that. It gives them the I think my kids would call it the cheat code for participating in these programs
Yeah.
in a way that is easy. It's easy to get them in. They immediately know the 30 programs that we're partnered with, and we're always looking to add new programs and services. They they don't have to do a single thing other than show the card to actually apply, and they're already in. And that's the part that some of the organizations we partner with are so excited about, is that they don't have to they don't have to go find out whether that person is qualifying for financial support for anything. We've already done that for them, and so that's part of the power of this kind of this kind of networking process that we've set up through the Key Collective. It's a tremendous amount of work, as you know personally,
Yeah.
but it creates an opportunity. It just didn't exist before.
Yeah, that's the best way to put it. Thank you for your time today. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I just would. I guess just as a close, like I said, I think that I'd encourage everybody to just take a moment and think about the fact that their kid's experience as a parent is not the same as everybody else's, and there's opportunities that abound out there. I, for one, think the Key Collective is a fantastic one. That's why I'm so invested in it. But it's an opportunity to let kids have that same experience. What we don't want to have is the kid, a whole bunch of kids on one side of the fence playing ball and a kid standing on the other side of the fence watching, desperately wanting to be in that game. That's what we're trying to fix. And I think that's what we've done. So it's exciting. I hope anybody listening gets to be a part of it, either by donating or being a volunteer or working with us in some of the programs or connecting us with other programs in the area. That's what we need. It
Thanks.
is a collective. So
It
we
is. Yeah.
need
We
the
need
power
everybody
of the
together.
collective.
Yeah. All right. Thanks so much, Mark.
All right. Take care.